And we're back here at the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series. That graphic is also very beautiful, but so are we. Hi, I'm Nathanius, joined by Zombie Grub, as we move our way into the winner's match for the Americas side of our show today. And boy, it has been a long one, but don't worry, Zombie Grub, because there's still a chance we could have another PvZ on year 0.
Oh my gosh, another opportunity for a 45-minute PvZ.
That is all I want. And don't worry, I won't waste your time with suspense. That is the first game of this best of 3. So let's see what our players are going to bring to the table. We've got TLO going up against puCK, two people who we could say play pretty weird off-brand styles.
You can use the word creative. It's okay. Don't let those internet haters boil us down to one-trick, one-story ponies. Creative is an okay word to use for both of these players.
I don't know that I would use creative to describe American strategies, personally.
No?
No.
No?
Random might fit a little better. Like taking a ninja base in one corner and then another ninja base in the other corner. Seems a little more random.
I mean, one person's creative is another person's random, all right?
That's very true.
But yeah, this should be very different than the PvZ, the same group. I mean, TLO versus Disc, while Colossus aren't like the most typical, still, it was all late game macro for the most part.
Yeah.
But puCK should be doing something different, even though year 0 is a tempting map to just macro on.
Yeah, I mean, the map, it practically invites you to have a feast with Amon just staring at you and your opponent waiting for something, anything, please God, to happen. But,
you know what? My favorite thing about that, by the way, is that you complimented Tastosis for their amazing plot knowledge and what Amon represents. And then you yourself did not realize why he looks like that. I mean,
I just assume when you become that powerful, it's like when they say someone's head's full of air, you know, except there's so much, literally expand to be a space whale, right?
Just like they just went, and like,
yeah, yes, Jim Carrey the Mask style, exactly.
That's what I think too. That's all Cthulhu monsters, actually.
Yeah, why do you think those monsters are so giant and big? It's because they have all that power, right? It's got to go somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah, I've never thought about it, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I got you. Don't worry. We're loaded in to kick off the winners match. Feels good. WCS is back. We were gone for that terrible 2 or 3 weeks. In the top right, spawning as the red Zerg player, we have the little one.
Literally 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Literally.
No party like a WCS party, because a WCS party don't stop.
In the top left, as the blue Protoss, he is puCK.
Yeah. Well, it's either talk about the lore occasionally, or I have to start making boat jokes like Tasteless and...
Well, we haven't... Have we had...
We had a game on Port Alexander.
We did, one.
And it took every bit of fiber in my being not to bring it up, because In Control asked that we do not sink to that level.
Oh.
And when Jeff tells you that, that's when you listen, you know? When Jeff tells you that a joke is going too far, that's when you know it's time to pump the brakes.
Going too far usually means that it's getting a little...
Yeah. Well, I think that Tasteless may be the only person who finds that joke funny now, so that could be what Jeff was trying to tell me.
What? But their banter far outranks our own.
I know. I guess I just don't understand how to properly make boat jokes. Double hatch by TLO, and a Nexus Aftergate, the core follow-up for puCK. So a little bit more standard, it feels, out of puCK then. And TLO, not expecting early aggression from puCK, it seems.
Well, I would say it's unlikely. puCK would be the guy to open up best of 3 in the winner's bracket with like one of a dozen 4 gates in the professional scene in the last 6 months. So... could have happened.
That's true.
Could have.
Do you think a double hatch before Pool doesn't have time to set up for that? If the Protoss expands and does like a 4 gate?
Depends if the Protoss makes a bad decision or not. If they attack the 3rd first or not.
Okay, that's
what it comes down to.
Right. You want to go for the natural and get drones.
Yeah. But realistically in the pro scene, it's a terrible build, and you should never try it. So puCK does not.
There you go. I will defer to you, Dr. Zombie Grub.
Yeah. So he does go for Stargate, which is totally normal. TLO, I mean, you guys kind of touched on it with the ZDZ and that fast 3rd. You kind of like, you see it as the opposing player, right, whether you're Terran or Protoss or Zerg, and you're like, son of a attack that base, then you're kind of falling into that trap.
Yeah.
If you just look at it and you're like, okay, all right, you get that one, I'll get something later on, then it's like,
Some players see that early expansion, and you know the red mist appears in front of their eyes, and it turns into a full-out brawl. I must kill you as soon as humanly possible type game, and that is definitely a thing to play off of. You can use to trick some players, force them into making bad choices, and you go like double hash purple into like massling or something insane, which we have seen before. It wouldn't be the first time, and probably wouldn't be the last.
yes, yeah, that's kind of the way I prefer seeing the fast third hatch, but then at some point, I think in the meta, it became too obvious. This Adept is going to be bold, right? It sees that there is a third base. It sees that there are no more Lings on the way already, so sacrificing itself for a couple of drones isn't as potentially deadly as maybe some other games. The
Yeah.
Oracle's almost done as well, so yeah, that's... They have to be sacrificed? No, but at least got 2 drones for it.
Where is that spore being built? TLO is getting 1 spore. We do have that Oracle making its way across. The spore will not be done when the Oracle arrives, but it will be very close to finishing.
Be the most obvious thing in the world to go to the main.
Yeah,
There's the
we're...
natural.
It would be too obvious, and
Right.
that's exactly why he'll go there.
Or the natural.
Well, there's 2 queens in the natural, so...
Yeah, that was a very solid defense from TLO.
Oracle
That's the thing,
gets
though.
bullied away, but he's still going to turn around and get some kills on the way out. He's a sneaky one.
No.
Oh, yellow, orange health.
Definitely shouldn't have chased that one drone.
If an Oracle had legs, his are starting to buckle beneath him, but it's going to be able to fly away.
But I was going to say, that's like kind of the thing, right? If you play a perfect game, which TLO almost did there, 1 Spore Crawler defends the obvious base, 2 Queens defend the other one, and the third might not even be touched at all, or might not have drones at all at this point, but it absolutely does. And that could have maybe been another opportunity for these Oracles to do damage, but they kind of went the obvious path, got a few drones, and most importantly, are going to be able to get a lot of scouting. When
Yes.
2 Oracles are here, twice Revelation, you should never miss anything.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
And of course, the Oracles have that little that bzz, bzz. They can grab a couple of those drones easily and scoot on out. Of course, you want to be careful with the one that got softened up earlier. 4 gases being taken by the Wunderwunsch as the layer gets close to finishing. And that leads me, a nice bit of curiosity. We don't always see the Zerg just start to take all of their gas immediately. So I wonder if his play is something a little more tech-related. He's getting a Roach Horn now, but you don't need all those gases just to build roaches, even if you want to get upgrades for them.
It could just be a safety Roach Warren, right? So maybe he goes right into Hydras, and maybe he still provides buffer with Roaches. He is going into literal Roach Hydra.
Okay.
But he doesn't really need to use those structures yet, because puCK is not, like, he's reading into what he's scouting. He's not getting a big army. He actually heavily delayed a lot of his tech structures that we'd usually see in a more conservative game, perhaps on 2 base. No, his 3rd base is already up. Already a little saturated, and now he has the ability, there we go, to start charge.
Yes.
To start +1. I'm pretty sure he got it forged too, yeah. It's actually a little delayed, so maybe his build is a little messed up because he is somewhat reacting to TLO, but we have, for instance, a lot of gas that he's not able to use because he's still limited on money.
Right, so interesting. I mean, because
go.
with the Protoss player having this 3rd up at the timing that he was able to get it, you have to ask yourself, like, Dario, you want to get your next base pretty quickly. Being on an even economy versus Protoss, generally not where a Zerg player is most comfortable. The Evolution Chamber, 2nd one is coming inside the main. What puCK is doing actually just looks extremely, extremely standard, right? It's just charge, +1, Immortals, Templar Archives, and he had his 3rd base at a very nice time, considering especially how late this 4th is dropped.
Yeah, so thank God they are both doing what everyone else did and is playing super long on this map.
Yeah, well, you know, I feel like they all signed a pact that none of these games would be under 10 minutes on year 0. Or excuse me, under 20 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, that does play into the map, so it's not like it's wrong.
It's a big map. It's a big map. There's a long rush distance, and there's quite a few lanes to counterattack and backstab, so you don't want to get caught out in the open. It's not fun. Gets the Overlord, barely saving the Phoenix. Wow.
Yeah, and we are rounding out all those mid-game compositions. So TLO did just throw down an Infestation Pit. So Hive should be on the way very soon. But he also went for a couple Overlord drops, which are now fake or misclicked. Okay, they're fake. He's setting up for an attack
like
with the third, actually.
I like the bait here. Trying to pull the forces over, maybe force him to build another Phoenix or a Void Ray in anticipation for an attack that's not coming. Opening the opportunity here for this army to come down on the side. TLO, the focus of his attention on this bit. Is going to break apart those force fields with the Biles to try and save his Ravagers.
Storm isn't done, and those High Templars, like, they have a lot of energy, I think. Very dangerous thing for TLO to do, but I think he's, like, reading into this. You don't have Storm quite yet. And is trying to push forward here. Takes care of the Stasis Trap, pops an Immortal Shield. The rest of puCK's army, whatever was being reinforced, whatever's in the main, does come down here. That was a little scary.
Yeah,
a
that's a brave move to make, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, I'm just going to assume that you don't have Storm. And he didn't, and he was able to get in, do a little bit of poking. I'm not really sure he killed anything of value, but I still respect, you know, real respect's real. When you're fighting against High Templar, not knowing that they don't have Storm or not is about as brave a move as anyone can make in StarCraft.
That's true. A brief glance, really. I mean, it is obvious when they're like brand new, but like you get to that 68 and the 75, and it's like, can you really tell that apart? Anyways, so everything is Gucci then. So we're gonna get to that super late game. puCK gets a 4th base, so I expect to see a fleet beacon actually like within maybe 2-3 minutes.
Yep.
Maybe maxes out first or gets close to. Maybe he does a push, right? But he's really not setting up for it. Does he even have a War Prism? Nope.
So the Hive is on the way. No Spire just yet, so the option for Broodlords, little ways away at the moment, but Infestors are coming out. We have the +2 attack, very close to finishing for the ranged units. And some Changelings, of course, very aware of that Southwest 4th. Feels very odd to see the economy be so similar between a Protoss and a Zerg in a situation such as this. But here we are. It's a brave new world, Zombie Grub, and Neural Parasite being added to the mix. So TLO kind of going for what we expect. I'd say except without the Spire. I'm like, where's the Brood Lords? How do you force those ground units to attack? Okay, now he starts a Spire. Maybe he thought he already had one. A little bit concerning there, because I don't think you can really fight this army. You don't really fight Protoss late game without Brood Lords.
I think it's difficult, but we saw how effective the Fungals can be. Charge lots, you know, don't really get to run forward. If there was a lot of Archons, they don't have that range. It's certainly something that can buy time, and sometimes the best.
This really is, you know, there's no creep here, Zombie Grub, and
there's not. That's the dangerous thing to do. This time, High Templars absolutely have Storms and feedbacks. TLO is playing, again, a dangerous game here.
Yeah, he's like got a cool flank-ish type thing going on. But it's still really hard to do with that creep spread, because your units can't really move that fast. There's a fungal on some of the Zealots, so he's kind of got half the army over here. Gets the back.
Yeah, that's really nice. The High Templars, I mean, they storm as much as they can, but Roaches can take a hit or two. And the rest of puCK's army is going through the middle, but not fast enough to be dangerous. TLO just turns around and is going to take care of this half of the army, too. And I think he just killed his own Archon. What was that? Nice. Okay, all right.
Nice. 3 more Stargates being added. +1. Air is on the way for puCK as well. And TLO, he's got his Burrow finishing up. He did get a Spire, but has yet to turn it into a Greater Spire.
There's no Fleet Beacon, but there's going to be 4 Stargates.
Yeah, how about that? Gets a Neural on an Immortal.
All right, then.
With a shot or 2.
This will be cleaned up, it looks like, in TLO's favor. He is going to lose a base, but this is kind of an accessory base. He's already on 4, on a 5th from the top, so this is a 6th, and it's not even droning quite yet. That's going to be an easy thing to replace. I mean, funnily enough, as we get into the late game PvZ, puCK does have that bigger band. He had the bigger economy, he had more workers, so that's kind of the reverse.
puCK's been a rich boy this game. He's done very well for himself economically. We talk about how slow and how much these games can drag on year 0, and puCK has made the most of that opportunity to just sit back, make bank, and hopefully, you know, keep some diverse investments so that it pays off in the long term for him.
Finally, that Fleet Beacon. I mean, it's a good thing he didn't immediately go into 4 Tempest at a time, because we are not quite at that Broodlord stage. And he was, you know, what looked to be, he was losing the mid-game battle there, literally in the middle of the map and with mid-game units. So it's...
Ooh, look at this. Secret Agent Infestor sneaking behind enemy lines as well.
I mean, it's going for the amazing fungal. It's just kind kind of funny because puCK does not have that big of an army. He just started 4 carriers, so that's why his supply looks okay. But when you look at the actual armies he's working with, they're very small.
Carriers. What if he mind controls a probe and builds a Nexus? That's never happened in WCS.
Oh, he's feedbacking all the High Templars! Or not. Just kidding. Darn. I feel like that's what he was going for, though.
Yeah. I mean, he did get him to kill his own High Templar, so there's that.
Yeah, and feedbacks would only be helpful if you're about to attack them. Otherwise, they just regain energy, but unless they're full and maybe they die. Anyways.
Full would kill High Templar,
Yeah,
right?
I think one or two was full.
Maybe not.
Well, Zealots in the main looked like they were going to be dangerous.
It would.
Oh, they would? Okay.
Yeah,
so one of those High Templars would have died, I'm pretty sure, but yeah, whatever. Didn't work out quite as beautiful as TLO was anticipating.
So Dario's trying to stop these attacks, hitting from the north, hitting from the south, gets a mind control on the Archon. Gonna pull that bad boy back. puCK, meantime, building 2 bases at once, and also behind those carriers going into a Dark Shrine. Oh my god, the storms.
Yeah, maybe don't chase
I don't know how dry it is in Toronto these days, but that is not the best way to get a shower. 7 Broodlords on the way. This is what the Wunderwunsch was waiting for. I feel like he meant to have the Spire much earlier because this is going to turn into an anti-timing because he's already got carriers and now Tempest on the field.
Yeah, to be clear, when he was gas-starved, so I guess it might have also just been like a decision to go for Infestors first, right?
Right.
That's what took up all his gas. But you're right, like it could have been a much stronger timing before these carriers were out. This base probably would have died as sacrifice for the greater good, but it's probably going to lose. I don't know.
Yeah.
The no parasites are still very scary. The fungals are still scary.
I think particularly in anti-air wise, you gotta do the infested Terran bombs. There you go.
Oh, but the storms obliterate that infestor count. They do take out most of the ground army.
Yeah, but the infested Terrans come out. Boom,
there we
boom,
go.
baby. Them rocket launches blowing them to pieces like Nemesis on that southwest base. That is gonna allow the Broodlords to continue to do their thing with the Hydralisk support. And of course, infested Terrans benefit from upgrades. This is not Heart of the Swarm anymore. So those bad boys rip into that Nexus, and solid fight there for TLO. Both players very sparse, very small Banksy nowadays.
Yeah. I will say, like, in comparison to some of our earlier PvZs, puCK has been expanding at a really decent rate. Or maybe Hearthstone was, like, choked in very much so earlier. But I will give credit to Hearthstone as those mass High Templar, I think we can call it that at this point, actually ended up working really well. He both stormed what he could, as the fight was going on, and then any infested Terrans that popped up. Something that maybe puCK was considered as those, the infestors, they died. There was a big gas investment gone, but they did still get a lot of infested Terrans out.
Big oof there. Corruptor's backstabbing the main while he makes this attack happen. He gets one of the Tempest. Could go for a second one there. But the Broodlord's bringing the pressure. Gets some mind control off on the Tempest. Tempest very good at killing carriers, so there's some opportunity there. And he's going to try to pull it back over towards these Hydralisks so that they can kill that Tempest. Easy peasy.
Does he have... He has one observer with the army. Okay. I'm going to say sometimes it felt like he was missing sight on the infestors. His oracles have not been getting like the perfect revelations either. Very small run by, if that's what you can call it. Doesn't really do too much, but it does move the army south, and the Broodlords are left behind a little bit, so Tempest getting some free shots. puCK is still on a decent number of bases, a really high worker count. 90 workers for Protoss, wow. They're already so supply intensive, that's kind of extreme. But that's how he's playing this game. And eventually he will accrue a much bigger bank if, well, he saves his bases, which he's not going to save this one. TLO with a little run by of his own. He's going to snipe that and maybe get into the third base.
It's the Neural on the High Templar, not controlling, not really doing anything with the Neurals, though. It seems like he's like, he gets it off, but then he's distracted looking at units elsewhere.
You know what's so funny? I'm going to make it like an outrageous call. TLO has such a weird hotkey setup. I wonder if he just doesn't have feedback like available on his hotkeys.
He can't feedback because it's bound to like jump to base or something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that'd be weird.
That would not surprise me.
TLO does have a weird setup. So, but anyways, it's not really working out. Again, with those Neurals on the High Templars, as cool as it maybe could be. Recall does save the 4th base. Lost some production temporarily. Oh wow, Interceptors, please do that faster. There we go. Yes, the Interceptors don't have many upgrades, whereas TLO at least has his ground upgrades. Working on +3 Carapace, 8 more Infestors on the way, and Druid Gland, so Ling run-bys will be potent.
Yeah, he's only got the +1, right, on the air. +2 is getting
Yeah.
close to finishing, but very hard to kill some of these units. Corruptors, oh, they're just gonna come and dunk on these carriers. Corruptors don't care.
Yeah. Even if there were a couple of storms, you know, they just kind of move out of it. It's probably still worth killing all of those air units. puCK losing some very expensive units. Again, another no parasite.
There
Oh,
we
there's
go.
the
There he gets
there
the
we go.
feedbacks off.
Okay, so
Is it worth losing an infestor to do that? I don't know.
Especially because he didn't get any eye templars with that, I don't think. The one almost died.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's just trying to deny energy, but then you, as you said earlier, they will get the energy back, so eventually.
Things that it's something that could be really cool, but right now it's been just exchanging blows, right? So nothing really game deciding, nothing that looks too intimidating quite yet. Unlike that Nurtio series, right, where he was just enveloping the map in creep spread and making Hearthstone look almost foolish, like he couldn't decide how he could approach this. puCK is at least keeping his army mobile. You'll see that he still has a lot of stalkers, which he was very keen on getting Blink first, even before that Fleet Beacon. And he's trying to use it, but it's still very difficult to do.
Yeah, trying to be cautious. Revelation tags the Corruptors again. Gets a good tag on all the Infestors. Will kill the Oracle.
That is a lot of investors. We're at 15. But the rest of the army, I mean, I'm looking at the units tab. It's not that impressive. Both of them are on such high worker counts that, you know, both their armies are smaller than maybe we would expect when you're more around the 60 or 65.
Got to go for that 69 Spore Crawler build Nurtio was doing.
Yeah.
Big Infested Terran Bomb at this base, though. Always great for breaking stuff down. You have to be really cautious because we've been seeing people storm the Infested Terrans. So now, I mean, it's not like you build them and move them all as a unit, right? You just spawn them. So you want to try and spray them out in like a zigzag almost.
But there's the army actually exchanging? No, not quite. puCK saves his base while killing TLOs. Also is going to grab an Infestor. That was a nice little snipe and trade in favor of puCK, but TLO is the one that started to bank minerals. So replacing hatcheries isn't so much a problem for him. He wants to get not just the hatcheries up, he also needs to get those gases up. He's just continuing to make Infestors. That is his game plan right now, and those are very gas-based.
And that's really, see, that's really well done. He gets the High Templar, kills the other two with feedbacks. No storms available for puCK on this south side. And this little force should be super dead. Great job defending that so far. Mind-controlled Archon gets back in his hands and dies.
Good, he
Is he getting a second Dark Shrine?
I think he is.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, just forgetting he had it.
Forgot he had a Dark Shrine already.
I feel like puCK is reading into the style TLO is playing pretty well. Now, I'm not saying either one's really showing any dominating form, as Fungals and Neural Parasites could drastically change a main fight, exactly like this, but good recall. Whoa, that was glitch.
Yeah, well, you can't put the tentacles through the Bifrost. That's just everything gets cut off. So, good save there for puCK.
But puCK is trying to split TLO apart, and it was working for a time. Unfortunately, now TLO has a lot of sack defense, so run-bys will be expensive or just simply won't work. It'll take too much time, and the army will respond. And that's what's been missing from TLO for a little while here, but now he has at least one more base, his 5th base up and running and protected. And he is being very mindful not to get his Infested Terran stormed, but he does not have a lot of, like, straight-up DPS, right? He gave up almost entirely on Broodlords for a while there.
The Infestors are the army. Yep. So he's just trying to lob the Infested Terrans out in a manner that they're not super clumped for that storm, as you were talking about. Gets Neural Parasite off on Archons. Wow, that Neural Parasite's so powerful that Archon doesn't have his skin anymore. How weird is that?
That's a decent number of overloads that are going to go down. Will have to be replaced, but again, TLO not too worried about his mineral bank. It's his gas bank. It's, and these Infestors go down, and he gets more and more worried. Speaking of which, the Infestors are coming after the main army. It's being bulked up. They're a little shy, though. They're looking for those reaches on the Fungals. Maybe Neural Parasites will come down, too. He has so many of them. Half of them still with a decent bit of energy themselves. But no power behind it.
A Stalker. Yeah.
There's not enough for a lot of Infested Terrans, though some are popping out, and there's no Hydras anymore. The Corruptors have mostly been taken out here, but he does take out most of the air army, so ultimately a success, and perhaps a game-deciding one.
Yeah, it's all about them Infested Terrans, like in these types of fights, because the Infestors survive enough. The Infested Terrans are going to kill everything that they get close to. Dealing with the interceptors very well, the carriers. I mean, I like the back and forth. I think that puck is doing what he needs to do, right? He's going to attack on the south side again now. He's got the Archon, got some Zealots, got some Templar moving in. And Dario, well, his army is mostly relying on that energy, which allows him to, you would think, have more resources. But both players very, very broke from how much they've traded out this game so far.
Yeah. puCK went from being quite rich to affording a very expensive army and losing a bit too much of it. The little run-by stopped being as effective once TLO got his army up. He hasn't really had to trade out a lot of it. A lot of the, the most recent fight being the big one, big resource dump. But before that, like, it wasn't very much in terms of head-to-head battles. And he got one extra base up and running with protection, and that was, I feel like that's what really shifted gears here. puCK was unable to take down economy. He wasn't taking down the army anymore. He was losing his army. And he's still going to try and push this type of play. TLO even has a second base up and protected with some stack defense.
Yep, good play here. I almost would like to see him keep, maybe, since there's not a huge air focus from TLO, like to just move the carriers and tempt this over the air towards the main. Like, this isn't bad. You can always recall, of course, but I feel nervous when I see all the forces that he has committed to this part of the map.
Yeah.
But he can get the tech. He can damage heavily the ability for Dario to really follow this up with anything.
Right, and this could be... So again, TLO was so gas-starved that it's not like he was using this to build a lot of Hydras or Corruptors or something, but additionally, he won't have that option. The tech is just completely gone at this point. All the tech really wasn't that natural. He's trying to replace it. He's preparing for a bit of a base race, but TLO, being mostly energy-based, for him to take out bases and production costs energy, and he has so many infestors, I don't think it's a problem, but it's like this weird world where maybe the infestors are low on energy and they can't take on what is left of puCK's army, but TLO's not falling for that. He actually pulls back to defend his 3 bases that are still mining, and puCK can't dig into that, so maybe he just goes to the main and clears that out, but it's just we're like shifting TLO's
TLO says screw it, by the way. He's gotten his Spire up at his new bases, getting a new lair. He's like, yeah, you want to kill everything in that place? Like, whatever, man. I didn't really care for it anyway. And puCK's like, I am running out of bases that I can take, so I'm going to take your base.
We're going to, like, really turn year 0, like, 90 degrees here at the bases. This is...
Well, I mean, honestly, the problem is they mined it out so fast. So, like, well, how do we make this game drag on even longer? I got it. Rotate the map sideways.
Yeah. Which is going to work out better for TLO. He still has stack defense to help him really draw a line in the sand, and he has not just the bottom left base, but also like the middle bottom left, which was never taken by puCK.
Yep.
So he's looking pretty good. All of his, or most of his army's energy based, so it's going to be something where he could poke forward and fall back, poke forward, fall back. We're even talking about transfuses, so in case the infestors get low, boom, transfuse. I'm not sure how they'll go as far as like anti-air or up against the Archons, of course, but they are helpful, and that's what TLO is obviously focusing on. He doesn't have a lot of gas, so it's the only thing he can really build, besides Lings, which I guess won't be very helpful. But they also have that transfuse. And as many infestors as possible. That's going to be up to 17, so a decent amount.
It's a lot of infestors.
I mean, it's no 20, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of usage of the Neural Parasite this game, which has been pretty fun to see from the Wunderwunsch. Just gonna get this spawning pool. He's not the only one. I'm like, I guess Lings are kind of inconsequential at this point. It's not really the focus of his army, but he is gonna rebuild it. We got a Burrowed Infestor. The Observer sees it. Goodbye.
It's better to take this out while you can, right? Don't leave that as the last base in a potential weird base race. But the main was entirely given up, really. The queens were just, I think, maybe even a hotkey thing, where he just spammed queens on his hatcheries and figured they wouldn't really survive. But he did take out 3 queens as well. The creep spread is becoming a bit of an issue. Funnily enough, not for a lot of this game when we're talking about left to right, but as we go south to north, the creep spread has gotten more insane. TLO has so many queens.
Yep.
That makes sense.
What a weird game.
Yeah, as soon as you turn year 0 like this, it gets really... Because we never see it. It's such an east to west map. The line is in the middle vertically.
That's not how it is anymore. I don't know.
Well, we do know that puCK is still perhaps the one that's a little more desperate. It's actually a case that he's brought up the army supply again. His economy is fine for what he has, right? One base, or well, 1.5 really. But the army fights did seem to go in TLO's favor, either like really a lot, right? Or by a little bit, but that's still a victory. TLO is going to be mining a heck of a lot more. He already is. He bumped up that drone count. So the long game does feel to be favorable for TLO, unless puCK starts to really get these amazing main fights, right? The storms hit, feedbacks are great. I don't know, but that's the conundrum we found ourselves in when we were talking about the Hearthstone versus Nurchio stuff.
Right.
The main battle seems to go in favor of the guy with the infestors.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard because when you try to look at it, there's not really at what point does the Archon charge lot count provide enough power with storms to get through the infested Terrans, right? Because it's that and it's the fungals. The infested Terrans make, in my mind, the carriers and Tempest like completely irrelevant. Like they will not be the deciding factor in the fight. They're going to soak up the hits, and then you hope the Zealots can get through the rest of it, and then the ground army, if there's like a wave of reinforcements, maybe can get through the spines. But the counterattacks from Dario are going to get a little bit more rough. And puCK, well, when you play Protoss, you don't have the luxury of just moving all of your production everywhere else. It's not like you, oh yeah, it's just a hatchery or two. It's all your gates. And he's not Terran, so he can't lift them off. He has to defend that west side, or he will not be able to build stuff anymore.
Yeah.
There's not enough money on this map to rebuild all his production and tech.
He never used the Dark Shrine. He still isn't. He still has both. And DTs defensively can sometimes work wonders, but nothing is being warped in, even before he was supply blocked, but now he's supply blocked. And he's going to be losing valuable tech and, as you said, production. I guess CNC is mostly focused on the Stargates. Maybe that's what he produces.
And the Zealots come over, blocked with Changelings.
Very cute. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. The Zealots are just straight up derping out. They're not even attacking the Lings.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Bad. Not looking too good for puCK anymore. Really liked his position earlier on. But Dario, with all of these very energy-based units, have done a great job.
Yeah.
I don't see where puCK can win this anymore now.
What a balancing act for the balanced team, though. There was a time where it felt like feedback was like... There was a time, literally, I think the pro Zergs were saying, why even bother build spellcasters? Obviously, we still had the era where like Scarlet was building 30 or whatever. But the point is, like, he would just get slam dunked. Air slam dunked, and you would die instantly. And now it's the case where you don't die, and that's great. But then you have still mass spellcaster armies that don't die and just come back later. So unless you can get that one dramatic fight and then immediately win the game after, feels very difficult. And we also are, at this point, talking about creep spread and stack defense.
Yeah, it's that comboed with, like, Protoss doesn't have that end game, like, I win unit anymore. Which for a long time, it was like, if you could make it to that point where you get, like, 8+ carriers, your army is borderline unstoppable. If you had, you know, some Archons and Templar to support it with, like, a mothership against the Corruptors. There's like 4 Archons like right here would like dunk on Corruptors that tried to dive on those carriers, but Dario is playing his weird, dark, twisted jigsaw saw game trap thing.
Terrifying jigsaw makes 30 infestors and tells you, hey, fight with Protoss against this.
It's like, you've enjoyed playing long games on Year Zero your whole life. Let's put that to the test.
I do like the idea for Disruptors, though. That is not something we've seen. They do have that cast range, right, where they're going to be a little farther out than the Neural Parasite. I'm pretty sure, maybe depending on how the concave works out. And if you get enough of them, then it's just kind of like difficult to even get all of the Disruptor shots missed or taken out of the equation. But that is the question. Can puCK actually get a decent amount of Disruptors? Will they actually get the hit? Will they be used against him with Neural Parasite? That would be crazy.
How weird is that? Neural Parasite is Zealot to trigger the Stasis Trap, which frees the Zealot from the Neural, but...
He's moving in with 2 Disruptors. He's got a 3rd one on the way. They're looking for anything, really, but being a little miscontrolled. Oh, there's the good one! That is a big splatter of Infestor blood. That is something we have not considered, and puCK taking the time to think outside the box for a second there might have found his ticket back into these main fights. But then, well, let's bring it back to the fact that TLO kind of gave up on Broodlords for a while there.
Yep.
And bring them back in the equation. What happens then?
Yep. I think there's still enough air for that, but Man, these weird... He mind controls a unit that triggers his own stasis on his own units. Like that disruptor just gets locked down for X period of time, and this is just some weird stuff. I don't know. I don't really have words for this. This is certainly I've never seen a game of StarCraft played like this before.
Americas.
Yeah.
Oh, TLO.
Yeah.
TLO still likes the idea of infestors. He made like 2 broodlords, literally 2 broodlords. And I was like, no, back to infestors, back to corruptors.
Yep. While we're killing some time. Oh wait. Oh.
That's
Shotgun to come in. Someone did ask in the chat about TLO playing in Americas, and I'd just like to clarify, your boy has moved. He's a Canadian now, about as officially as he can be at the moment. But
yeah. Yep.
GG.
Oh, TLO. Okay. All right.
Yeah, the counterattack did a really good job there.
Yeah.
And honestly, TLO's army, that's just terrifying. He's just got all these Corruptors, all these Queens, all these Infestors with a ring of Spores and Spines. And then once a Protoss, I guess I hate to say it because it's hard for non-air armies to deal with the Broodlord part of it. But like once the Protoss gets into that big air, Infestors just destroy it. Like you cannot engage into that. If the Zerg player just dumps out Infested Terrans, like that's it. You must disengage.
Yeah, if they actually hatch and don't get killed by a billion storms.
Yeah.
Which, is not something that puCK was capable of doing. I wonder if the disruption swap would have been better earlier, would have changed some of those main fights. We didn't have too many. We didn't even have the dramatic last one. puCK just tapped out before it happened. But maybe it could have helped.
My sadist guess would be that TLO would have probably knurled the disruptor if he had gotten it earlier and used it to blow up puCK's own army.
That's what I was talking about with the range of it, right? So
yeah, that's true.
I mean, do you know the disruption cast range?
Purification Nova, I think it... Oh, man, it's meant to be just under a tank's range, right? So I would guess 11 or 12.
Yeah, so it does outrange.
A disruptor can hit a tank from outside the tank's vision, but within its range, so I'm going to guess 12 max.
Okay, but the complication is that if they see you throwing them out, then they should theoretically be able to escape if, like, they're very quick about it.
Yeah.
But that's when, like, if they're eager to go for the null parasite, maybe that's when you're like, aha, gotcha.
These plays were pretty big too, right? Able to just grab units that were going between the bases. The neural parasite from the burrowed infestor, which happened way too many times. The observers were not able to keep up with the army. The detection became a huge issue. Mm-hmm. And in a lot of these fights, we just saw stuff like this. Like even that Immortal in this whole big fight, like gets neural parasited and ends up helping to kill a ton of these stalkers during the battle.
Yeah.
Weird game.
Brutal.
Weird game. But I like seeing... That's a different type of creativity I like seeing on TLO, because not only has he recognized the Infestors are obviously very good, but he's using the Neural on some different units that we haven't seen the other players go for today.
Yeah.
If you can execute it, like taking the High Templar and just getting rid of the energy and all the others, it's a great play. You want to get the Infestor out after that, but...
I think, top of my head, I would say maybe more High Templars, like what we saw from Hearthstone, to clear out some of those infested Terrans. Because there were some, one of the first battles was that he cleared out most of the infestors, but didn't have enough for the infested Terrans, and he had to retreat. And then maybe the Disruptors a little bit earlier, just to throw it in there. But I really love that we got to see what was still mostly the same thing we saw from Nurtio, the mass infestor, but with even more infestors. But puCK tried to outposition it, and that's what I was wondering, like, hey, if Hearthstone had done that. He also got expansions up faster, even though he eventually lost the bottom ones, right?
puCK asks, can we remove Infestor from the game before TLO joins it?
Yeah.
Our admin says, LOL.
You know what was missing from TLO, though?
What?
Vipers. Never bothered.
Yeah.
Who needs them?
Yeah, what's the point?
Yeah, that's another thing that puCK would have had to deal with. Although maybe there's not as much abusable terrain on Near Zero.
Yeah, I don't know. We've got the lobby up, though. We're going to Automaton for the next game, and we'll be jumping into it in just a brief moment. The player just needed a quick reprieve, but we are back. We are ready to rock and roll. TLO says he's ready. puCK says he's ready. So we should be starting this game in any moment now. If you guys have been enjoying today's broadcast, or if you haven't, hit us up. Say hi on the Twitter box. Don't forget to hashtag WCS. Type your favorite meme in the chat. Take some good clips when those funny moments happen. Get yourself some Reddit karma. push the wonderful game that is StarCraft to all your friends. Be like, have you ever seen this man? I don't know.
It sounded like, wait, did you thermal? Oh, no, that was TLO. I thought you thermal popped up behind us. I was like, what the? Why? Nope. Good old-fashioned TLO in that
thermal is not behind
jersey.
us.
Yeah. Well,
he's in the Netherlands running a tournament right now.
I feel like I'm just being like paranoid about production today.
Yeah, if I could teleport 6,000 miles, how sick would that be?
That would be pretty sick. I was just talking about the graphic, not that he was literally behind me. But, you know, there's that too. I already thought today that, like, In Control said lemonade with no proper context provided, so.
Well, that wouldn't be a surprising thing for In Control to just drop, so I don't blame you.
There you go. Thank you.
I don't blame you. On the left side of Automaton, we have the Rojo Zerg player. He is TLO.
In the top right, as the blue Protoss, he is puCK.
Most riveting discussion of today's broadcast was puCK and disc, though. Next level. Next level from Jeff.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what got me today. You know, it's a different magical experience every day here at the Blizzard Arena, but that was definitely the one.
Mm-hmm. And it could happen. puCK versus disc. Could be the decider match.
Yeah. At that point, instead of playing StarCraft, do we just put it onto an air hockey table? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it could still literally be puCK versus disc.
Does anyone say disc when they like watch or cast a hockey game though? Really?
No, but
No,
you would.
I think so.
I think the closest you would get would be if someone was talking about like a discus. People would use disc-ish, right? Although it's not the same word.
I literally was the one that brought that up, and yet I also would say that they don't. They call it a discus.
Yeah.
Someone who threw discus.
Frisbee's kind of a disc, right? I don't know. But,
yeah.
but a Frisbee's not a puck, right? So not all.
No, exactly.
So a puck could be a disc, but not all discs are pucks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There we go. So I don't know. You'd never call. Well, you would rarely call it anyway.
If you didn't know what it was, you might just say that it's a disc, no.
But is puCK I mean, I'm certain he's been asked, as we see nothing really of note, Stargate
That's
versus regular opener.
That's true.
Has he ever been asked, like, what it actually is for?
The reality is, puCK is the name of a character in another game.
I was going to go with the Shakespeare
It's
character.
in a Warcraft 3 custom map that puCK highly enjoyed playing back in the day.
Either I was going to go with Shakespeare or Final Fantasy 9.
Nope.
No, but it's some other thing I have no idea about.
Yeah, it's a game that's not StarCraft, which means, in the context of this broadcast, doesn't exist.
It's pointless.
Yeah. So look at that Overlord scout, by the way. He knows what's up with that Stargate barely in his vision, so he has spotted it.
Yes.
It's always nice to know what Protoss is doing, because sometimes these guys get up to some really crazy shenanigans.
Yes, they do. The Adept is seeing what the Zerg is doing. And again, kind of just looking for maybe like, if it's really lucky, it sees the larva pop with a bunch of lings. Or in that case, just sees larva not even being used, but it's going to go to drones.
I like the awareness at a TLO. What I've been doing, because we have a wonderful observer now. On my PC, I always just set it to one of the player's visions. TLO was kept checking the Stargate. As soon as he saw the Oracle on the way, he kind of pulled the Overlord back a little bit. He's just trying to keep tabs on if he makes a second one after this now, or if he goes straight into Phoenix. And that's really, really big tell, because he sees the first Oracle come out, and he sees that there's a second one being produced. So TLO is definitely going to commit to the Spore Crawlers in his base, maybe squeeze out an extra Queen. He does not want to be vulnerable to the Oracles just coming in and microwaving all of his drones.
First Oracle is going to swoop on in. Actually has no care, but there's no drones. The third, which is what you would like to see. And that's actually it. It's going to have to wait for its buddy, maybe do damage. Oh, no. No, Spore Drone. No. You tried. And it ignores armor. Remember when they stopped making the spell? They stopped making the spell,
That happened
actually.
for a day, and it was like the most incredible thing of my entire life.
That was their response to the mass Oracle shenanigans that were happening.
Like, Oracles are now affected by armor. It's like, well, it turns out that actually has a pretty significant impact.
Yeah. Well, now they've changed the Oracle armor class.
Yeah,
Big difference.
That's another big one. There's only one. I think there are only 2 units that could shoot air that did bonus versus light, right? Am I crazy?
2 units that
Phoenix
shoot air.
and the Ghost.
Oh.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really thought about
units
it.
that get a light bonus against the old Oracle. Yeah. So now you know Go Suck versus Oracles now, except you could just EMP it and then it can't attack you.
It was like, I mean, that's that the thing we're worrying about?
I don't know. I was
Also, ghosts are amazing versus mutas.
Whoa,
So
you
ever
pulled
wanna
the
do that.
drones to repair the hatchery, but wrong game.
Wrong race,
Yeah.
TLO. You were Terran 7 years ago. Get over it.
He's like, imagine if you could load. Imagine if every race had that option to like cargo load the town hall. And you just pull 10 drones inside of your hatchery, or like when it becomes a hive, you can fit 15 of them in there.
When you think that Zerg is literally like something that takes a good idea and molds it into itself, and it's like basically limitless, there really is no reason why the hatchery doesn't have like an opening and just like,
Yeah,
like
no, I agree.
send the drones in.
I agree. It's like the travesty we missed out on in the proof of concept that they did. I think it was at one of the BlizzCons where they had an actual infested bunker that they showed off for Heart of the Swarm.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
Yeah, it was discussed, I believe, in a multiplayer context for a bit, but it showed like a regular bunker, and then it showed it get like eaten from the bottom, and like it was never brought up or mentioned ever again until Stukov Co-op Commander came out.
I was gonna say.
It got recycled into that.
Oh wait, wasn't that also when they were showing the new creep animations?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And they talked about that great new Terran unit, the Warhound. I cry every time.
Hey, I remember watching the Swarm host and thinking, yeah, Zerg needs that. Ugh, terrible time. So, advancing on into that mid game, as they both are just getting their drone count up, probe count up, and fourth base should be coming down soon for TLO. Come on down, eventually. Into that Roach Hydra, as he did in the last game. puCK with no eager attack in sight. Oh, he lost him with the energy too.
Yeah, the one with the energy. That stings.
Ah,
Look at that.
drop. I was wondering. TLO does have a Hydra list and a Bailing Nest, though, so this was not what I was expecting.
I'll preface, he has done, we've seen fake Overlord drops already out of TLO. We've seen him just kind
True.
of send the Overlords over there and be like, you better run over here and defend against this. And then, you know, you want to pull the Protoss out of position, find another alleyway to attack, get some damage in on the opponent.
Very good point. He does things a little bit out of order compared to last game, but yeah, it is kind of reaching that same level. These aren't even transport overlords. These are regular ones.
No.
The transport ones are to the north, so I do think they're planning on picking up the roaches. The Phoenix will scout it as a real Phoenix. There's nothing to stop the Phoenix. I mean, it'll take like 12 shots to kill an overlord, but still, that's going to be maybe it's going to stop TLO from doing this plan anymore. You can save them, I guess.
It
Try
hurts.
again later.
It really sucks, not because he doesn't really have the ability to like make him move his units into the main now, since the Phoenix can obviously see that those units are on the run.
Yeah, very nice catch there for puCK. TLO now adding on the Hydras, now adding on Infestors, also added on some Banelings. I mean, he's really got a lot of things going for him here, but it is heading into that later game.
This makes me nervous.
For a 45-minute game or for
For a
TLO?
45-minute game, mostly because Pathogen Glands is at the point where he can just start cranking out Infestors.
Yes.
And once we go down that dark road, I'm afraid this is one I cannot follow.
We saw that, you know, the attacks, if puCK were to be bold enough to move out on this map, and this was really, like, sucks, this happened in other PvZs too. Really long first game on King's Cove or Year Zero, and then the second map being Automaton, it's always kind of like, I mean, are you going to feel like pushing out in the middle of this map? If you do, are you going to get absolutely surrounded? So you're getting the, once again, reserved Protoss who just kind of is like, yeah, you go for your Infestors. So TLO won't have to worry about being pushed beforehand. He's not even worrying about getting to Hive, by the way, where at least he had that Hive last game. He's like, no, Infestors. Just more Infestors.
Oh, is he going to try? He's going to try and Bane Rain on the High
Ooh,
Templar.
nothing to stop him.
Oof. Ouch. Owie.
That was a good shot. That killed quite a few High Templar.
Oh, my God.
This one is barely going to survive for one storm, and there's not much ground army for TLO. That was not a maxed out mid-game huge push, so that could have been a disaster. It was all right. It was still a grand loss of gas resources for puCK.
Reminds me of In Control saying, he's like, yeah, well, you know, one of the nice things about being creative is like, that's great and all, but sometimes if he had just made another huge wave of Roach Hydra behind that, he could actually just win the game. When you get a Baneling Bomb that kills most of the Zealots and all the High Templar.
Well, you almost never see them get to the heart of the army, but that was the perfect opportunity.
That's true. Well, now he's got some, this is very small, it's a very small force, and the Immortals are still alive. 5 Immortals going to do a lot against this.
Should be careful. He's kind of like he's now the one maybe poking the bear here, as he has the idea of going into infestors, but if he's, you know, pushed in, if he gets stormed on, then he loses the army, then he feels the need to replace it, so he doesn't have the massive infestor army. He's going to be a little careful, but him risking this entire army was always low, unless he goes up that ramp all silly-like. He is splitting up the army, and he's going to buy a lot of time as he grows the infestor count and also starts the Hive Spire combo.
Yeah. That Broodlord army, of course, always going to be a tough one to deal with. The infestors are nice, but I guess at this point in time, I mean, I feel like TLO should be trying to take bases right now, because it's, once again, 4-base Zerg versus 4-base Protoss.
Yeah, I agree. He was not in a real hurry last game either, I would say. Got to 4 bases pretty comfortably, and then took a little while. Obviously, he eventually got up to 7, but...
You've got a good resource pool to work with, right? When your army is so energy-based, because your trades are less resources and just energy until you die because you're out of energy. So as long as you don't lose the fight with this type of army, you're going to be able to bank more resources than usual.
Neuro the Warp Prism. Oh no! Oh, did he do it? Oh no, he went for the High Templars again. Which means he misses the one of the Warp Prism, which is actually a really nice call from puCK there to add that in. Even picks him up, gets him away from any of the banelings, infestors.
I don't remember if you can mind control occupied transports.
I thought you could. But you know what? Now you make me question it, so never mind. Maybe he knew that, and I'm done.
For some reason, there is some sort of condition that for a unit, something with a unit being occupied. Maybe it's a co-op thing, because I do mind control.
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking of disable from the Raven. I'm getting excited about this.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
I probably play. This is probably the one instance where I'm like, I actually don't remember the difference between it and co-op, because half the co-op dudes have mind control, but you can't take transport filled units.
Okay. Well, he does go once again for the High Templars, went for a couple feedbacks, and will continue to do so. But puCK, recognizing that threat from last game, okay, that's going to be a hefty mineral loss.
Ouch.
Oh no. Yeah, has fixed that problem at the very least. So he's getting really juicy storms. But the Zealots are supposed to connect with these low Hydras, low Infestors, aren't quite connecting. The rest of the army is, however. Here come these Archons, the Immortals, more charge lots, and TLO has absolutely been broken.
Yeah, puCK doing a great job. He's going to knock this base down.
Oh, nice.
He gets a Neural on a Templar to storm puCK's own army, but don't know that the reinforcement wave is going to be enough. The backbone of this army was just so strong with those Immortals, and even just this Void Ray being able to come in and help is really nice. If it gets close to anything like where those Infestors work and crush it. Another huge warping of Stalkers. Blink's about to be finished. +3's done. GG. puCK ties the series up here. Beautifully done.
Indeed. GG. That made it look easy, which is so weird. Just a huge,
yeah, he just didn't have everything that he needed to have at that point, right? It's like you're going for the Broodlords. You want to get the Greater Spire, but it's not quite ready, so...
But that's the thing, is that he delayed that option even further. So, you know, even if he had gone a little bit faster, maybe it's not ready yet. But it definitely felt like he delayed it. Maybe I have my pacing wrong. But it felt like TLO was like, you know what, last game Infestors were great. I'm just going to go for Infestors, and the additional army is kind of an afterthought. And that would have worked out beautifully if it wasn't for the Warp Prism controlling the High Templars.
It seemed like he got set back a bit too, right? Like the scouting by that one Phoenix on his 6 drop overlords in the perfect spot that's like one of those semi-tilting things, because he had an idea to go for a big attack that probably would have gotten significant damage done. There wasn't a huge air force to come clean that up, since the army was mostly High Templar, not very fast either. And it's like I can see a world where he does drop like 16 roaches in the main, maybe kills a couple pylons, kills some probes.
Yeah.
But this is not that world.
I agree. He did not have that fast of a 4th base, considering puCK had a perfectly normal, even nicely timed 3rd. And then only when the Overlords were really seen did he start to, felt like, really push a transition, go for the 4th base, go for Infestors. So that did certainly push off his timing a little bit. It wasn't as such a smooth, huge macro game. We're on a smaller map at the end of the day, even though there's that scary wide open space in the middle, something that puCK was not actually too worried about. And the mass Infestors did not do the trick.
Nope.
They were...
He's not able to get to the critical mass of them either, so it's just one of those things.
Yeah, he got to a decent amount, but it was not 17.
Another thing is he really likes getting his fungals off, too, so he's not just playing with the neural, and because the Infestors are such a big part of his army, they have to unburrow to fungal. The infestors are just generally more exposed the way that TLO uses them in that specific situation.
Right. Of course, Storm does affect, if you can guess where the infestors are. It does affect
Right. I'm just more so thinking about, like, if the observer's not there, if something happens, like, the infestors will still be super killable because he didn't really burrow them at any point during the fight.
Yeah, he was missing a lot of these extra things that go along with mass infestors, the broodlords, but also even more creep spread. Stack defense wasn't quite there, and the ground army wasn't that convincing. There was a big delay.
Well, the storm drop, right? He brought the prism with the Templar. You get the 2/6 storms over the top of the Hydralisks immediately with that fight as well. So they were all fighting with like half hit points.
Yeah. It was a very smart addition. He had limited time to think about how that last game could have been improved, and with that time, he was like, you know what? A Warp Prism micro would have been really nice. So I'm gonna guess we're gonna see that again, unless one of these guys drastically change up the early game, which, despite being the weirder players of the scene, none of them have really done.
No.
Been pretty normal.
Not really. So we'll see. King's Cove for the next map, which we get some reasonably passive play with the way the 3 bases are set up here.
Mm-hmm.
The flanks.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see.
It is a lot because those 3 bases are kind of a given.
Yeah, they're kind
on
of
the high ground.
Yeah.
They're kind of connected. And then, as I was saying the last time we were on this map, if you get that 4th base, the 4th base can be tricky. That's when you're most concavable, you know. The army of your opponent looks the scariest.
Concavable.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay.
When your opposing army is going to get the best concave. But once you have that secured, the 5th and the 6th really aren't that big of a reach.
No. Not at all. We're loaded in, though. It's time to find out who is going out of this group in first place, as it's tied up 1 apiece. And in the top left position, spawning as the red Zerg player, we have TLO.
In the bottom right, as the blue Protoss, he is puCK. He's going for a little pylon block.
Cute.
Yeah, which is going to work. TLO. Even with a 16 hatch, this is a bit of a distance to the low ground natural, and he just doesn't. He just assumes it's going to happen. So it goes right to the 3rd.
Nice. Thinking ahead.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I saw like this. I mean, so it does throw the Zerg off a little bit. Their, drone transfer is now across a wider gap, and your hotkeys and your like rallying gets it's a little annoying. But for the pros, it doesn't do too much.
Tries to sneak the probe around the side. Nothing doing there. Don't tell me. Don't do it. He's not going to do it. Okay.
No. He needs his Nexus down.
Yeah.
You need it. No, he's going to go for Zealot? Wait. Oh, because he never saw an attempt in the first time, so he thought the pool was very early. There we go.
I was going to say, there's no way that he wants to build the hatch anywhere else at this point in the game. That low ground is very exposed. Cancels the pylon very quickly, gets his Nexus up. Cybercore is on the way. And that Zealot, he did not actually build it.
No. But it still sucks. Like, that Nexus is supposed to be after the gateway, so it was instead after Zealot, which wasn't made, but still took up minerals, and after the 7X core. Just because he didn't realize that TLO had taken base. So it actually kind of goes in favor of TLO, I guess. We're talking like very, very slight, small little things in StarCraft. And we're back to just kind of wondering, does puCK go for Stargate, Robo, Toilet Council? What's it going to be? puCK, since TLO is going for 3 hatch, it's kind of who we're looking at to dictate the pace of the game.
Nice.
What's it going to be? And he has a lot of gas, and I guess Stargate.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yep.
There we go. puCK's going to build probably a few more oracles to start off this round. A warp gate kicks off afterwards, and all right, the Adept's going to pop out. Love to see puCK try and get some pressure done.
Into a second Adept too.
Yes.
Yes.
I like this a lot. When I like think about PvZ games that I like watching, I always like watching Neeb's games because he always opens up with a few Adepts, and he almost always gets something done with them, and he's so very good with it.
We'll see how he uses the Adepts as well, because maybe he keeps them alive, maybe he warps in some more, and then does a combo attack with some Oracles. Going for the Scout right now. Sees what is not going to be a lot of Lings. TLO's Overlord is not going to be taken care of because there wasn't any Stalker. and there is a little bit of high grounds on King's Cove around that natural. It's not going there, though. It goes in the main after seeing the second Adept pop out, but the point is he knows about the second Adept, and he's making a few more links because of it. Just in case it goes out and about on the map.
Don't want to lose any drones if you can manage it. So Oracle, almost done.
Yeah, the second Adept didn't even go out, right? It just plugged up the hole in the wall, so...
Yeah.
The Lings are going to go on the offensive. They want the Adept kill, and they can get it. You can see that... Oh, well, they're not going to now. One Ling at a time hitting that Adept was not quite enough.
Yeah, it gets close, but no cigar.
Yeah, the Oracle...
Second Oracle, too, by the way.
Is maybe going to have to use its... I mean, it's... You don't really have to use energy. The Adepts will hold.
I think 3 here is fine, yeah.
Yeah, that's
with this type of wall off, it's really nice. 3 of them being only 1 hit.
I guess with the Overlord in the main, it is scouting what's popping out of the gateways. So just a third Adept. And the Overlord is getting the freebie scouting even still. What a freeloader.
Yeah, that's the dream. That's why I hate Overlords, man. Every game, most important thing you can do is kill that Overlord that's coming to your base.
Yeah, and puCK will make a Phoenix to do so. Oracle's looking for an opening, and it finds none. It does have a lot of energy to pair up with its buddy and maybe tag the drones on the side, but no Adept. Not a lot of Adepts, rather, and so there's not that 7 that can go across the map. 4, I guess, could if you thought they were being a little greedy, but he's going to use them to defend his 3rd, which makes sense as well. Into that Robo.
Nice.
Just the Robo. 3rd Nexus. He did... Is that what he did in the first game? I think maybe so. And then he slapped down a Forge Twilight Council at the same time.
He's been getting his bases really, really quick in this whole match. I think that's been one of the more interesting things to observe in this series, was puCK pretty much being on the same base count as TLO for quite a while. It's been happening a lot. We talked in the last game, right? It was like 4 base versus 4 base when it came all the way down to the end with that hive tag even.
Even in the first game, there was, TLO got a decent time 4th, but puCK got a pretty good time
puCK's 4th was really fast.
Yeah.
On the year 0. His 3rd, they were both on 3 bases for a crazy long time.
And I think we both kind of in agreement that that last game, TLO had in mind a more aggressive tactic, so he didn't get to power up on his economy and kind of outpace each other in the macro game like that first game, where they both were kind of one-upping each other in the economy and then eventually came down to the Infestors. But last game, it was like TLO fell behind, even though he managed to get to Infestors. Combination of not a lot, plus the Storm drops, was the real killer for him. So how is he going to tackle it this time? If the Warp Prism is going to be used again, which I guess it will, we're a bit of a way away from Storm, but we're having an Infestation Pit, so TLO's not going to be pushing into this. We're all Gucci. We're talking about the future because we're just waiting for that to happen, for it to show itself.
Yeah.
No attack.
We're back into regular old passive PvZ. Just kind of waiting it out, enjoying ourselves. What will probably end up being a reasonably lengthy game.
I guess I'm a little surprised we haven't had any, no gases at the 3rd, low probe count attacks off your base,
there's been no big attacks by Protoss at all today between Americas and Europe.
Yeah,
that's how we've got one of our longest Challenger broadcasts we've done so far.
Yeah. But considering how many of the Zergs did kind of just continue doing the whole oh, you're gonna macro, I'm gonna macro. I'm surprised we didn't get at least an attempt to bamboozle, but I guess everyone has been pretty on point about their scouting. TLO has an Overlord that's just Overseer, be bopping between the two, so he would have noticed an increasingly large army. And they're just gonna go into that late game. The first move out is from TLO, but with a very small army. I still would prefer seeing this just to have something to talk about, but also to see any openings that could occur. He almost found an opening with the High Templars not having Storm yet in that very first game, but it looks like it could happen again. We have a wall, we have a shield battery. I don't think TLO's really going to break a whole time, but he does get a gateway. And he might get a second gateway, actually. This is not so bad. puCK, a little underdeveloped on that army
awkward.
And still waiting for that Storm.
Especially even the sentries kind of get hooked on that Overlord that's watching over.
Hold on. And this is also no longer all going up a ramp, so those Storms. Oh well, there we go. Force Fields come down, and that's effective.
That one's going to help bring it into this. The Oracles also show up, but they will die.
Oh, that one barely lives. And the army units that were behind the probe line didn't really kill any probes. So that was again that very close timing without Storm for puCK, but he holds on. He lost 3 gateways of production, which was contributing to the size of his army, and so the storms had to be pretty good. But it worked out, and TLO goes to the Spire and the Hive. So this, I feel like we see him kind of working around this, right? The first game, it was the Infestors and Hive, but then he missed out on the Spire. Second game was all about the Infestors, really. Third game, he is skyrocketing right up to Greater Spire as fast as you can. It will time out roughly with that Hive.
It's kind of awkward. Gets stuck by the units that are caught in his own stasis ward on that ramp by the natural choke. He's got 6 gateways being added. He only had 6 warp gates after that wall got knocked down the first time. Needs to get that production up.
I guess once this army moves back and starts guarding against anything puCK can do, and you're waiting for its broodlords, I guess the wall will be helpful. But I was almost like, is that wall helpful right now? Like TLO just keeps picking away at it. But it works out, and now he has a big enough army to push TLO back. Even with a concave, he sees how big of an army it is. He sees there's not much reinforcing because the Observer's right over the army. The Overseer finally died to a tick of a storm. It was so low. But TLO splits his army. I thought puCK saw. I think he did. No? Yeah, he did. Easy peasy. But puCK, he's going into blink again. I mean, he did this in the first game, and
maybe he's thinking about just trying to use stalkers to break broodlords instead of, because the air army just doesn't work once there's infestors and corruptors. Like we've seen it just get absolutely slaughtered.
Yes, exactly. I mean, he went for blink, but he was also going for those 4 Stargates on year 0, and this time I guess just going right for the blink. I might like this. I really want to see how this works out when you're putting all your minerals and gas into max out on a gateway army. That's going to be the most mobile army you can get when you're talking about these super late games.
You still need to be crazy careful, though, right? Because the infestors will be able to stop the stalkers from blinking if they fungal them. This isn't like the old days where you could blink out of a fungal Reno. You just kind of die. So you need to be very cautious with unit positioning.
Yeah. But it is still the early stages. As we get to the tier 3s here, it's kind of early. There's only so many broodlords, not a lot of infestors. And he will be able to warp in a ton of blink stalkers. You know, once TLO says, yeah, I'll engage this. I have broodlords. We're fine. We're good. Bam, suddenly 9 stalkers, 10 stalkers warp in. It's, maybe something that actually you can continue pushing forward, depending on how seriously TLO is taking the army. But right now, no blink stalker warp ins, just all charge lots, defending his 4th base against what is kind of a double-pronged attack here. Storming his own zealots. Oh, the big wraparound, though. That is so many zealots.
Gnarly flank here. Great grab by puCK.
Really great. The army to the north here, I believe it's coming with the broodlords. It's not very big anymore, and there are the stalker warp-ins, so TLO does get a little overconfident here. A couple more stalker warp-ins, and I feel like this is something that you could take on.
Oh, yeah, I think
not feeling it quite yet.
I think he could push into where this is right now, to be honest.
Oh, and blink isn't quite done. There we go.
Yeah, okay.
And now he can maybe push in.
Yeah, where's the support?
There is no support. Now having to fungal to stop that, and the stalkers, while they are getting one shot with the broodlords right now. He still has a lot of warp-in, still has a really good economy. He's going to bully back the broodlords and the ground army. TLO, maybe not expecting such a big warp-in of stalkers.
I love it.
Not expecting blink.
I love it.
This feels like trouble.
This feels a lot like more old school puCK, but minus the High Templar, I guess I would say. But really good rounded out composition here. Stalkers are going to blink forward, gets another good couple of shots off. The Zealots are doing their thing, as Zealots are wont to do. And with this many Immortals as a backbone, very hard to dive on top of this. puCK steps forward, gets another Broodlord, both of them very low, gets the 2 of them. Absolutely flawless engagement out of our American Protoss player, doing really well here.
Yeah, very, you can see how they developed in the series. TLO was really withdrawing on the Infestor idea, ends up hurting as puCK really pushes the Blink Stalker idea. So even though he has spine crawlers and a decent amount of broodlords, they were not protected. I think there was definitely some overconfidence there as well, trying to hit that broodlord timing. Didn't realize that the stalkers would grow in numbers so quickly with blink. And TLO is not going to get out first, but he still has a chance to get out second. Congratulations, puCK.
GG. Well done, puCK. Makes a great adjustment in that match. I mean, going for the stalkers really good. Man, we've seen a lot of long PvZs today, and the one thing that seems to be common against Protoss losing is committing to the big airplay. It just hasn't worked at all. Like, the carriers do not have enough of an impact. The Tempests can't actually shoot anything because they only go air to air, but then the Infestors and the Spores are always very heavily in front of where Broodlords are. And going for the Stalker setup was great. Pounced on top of those Broodlords extremely well. And made some great holds in these earlier fights, this too, that we're taking another look at.
Yeah, but it was like the double whammy. He had lost a big portion of his ground army, had already sacrificed a lot to make that Broodlord army, and then also the Stalkers appeared. So no ground support made that an almost easy battle into the reinforcements. TLO falls, but has another shot against another Protoss.
That is right. So that is going to end up being the final match, but congratulations to puCK making it out today in first place. There is one more series remaining, ladies and gentlemen, in our nice, very long day of PvZ action. It is going to be Disc versus TLO. That is coming up next. You're watching the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series.